season?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, and actually, real quick, going back to the direct mailing, that brochure is mailed out or sent to the schools, but again, there's no guarantee that the brochure and flyer that we print to the schools makes it home. A lot of the teachers, say, oh, go ahead, they put it on the corner of the desk and they say, oh, take it if you want, or if the kid takes it, you shove it in his backpack, and then, the parents call us a month later, oh, I didn't realize that, registration closed already. So again, with the direct mailing, it's kind of more direct to the parents, so we can continue to spread the word about all our great offers.
You have anything to do with TVCCA program?
I do. Meals on Wheels. So, sorry, we do have 5 part-time people. Yes. Meals on Wheels. We also have Meals on Wheels drivers that we are responsible for paying. So that's part of the senior.
But they take care of the cooking or whatever they do there?
It's complicated. So, well, to make it simple, essentially, yes, TVCCA is responsible for preparing the meals and bringing them to our facility, and we're responsible from taking them from our facilities to the doorsteps of the recipients.
Any idea about how many that is?
It varies, but I'd say right now we have about 15 people using the program.
Is that because of income, low income, or what's?
It's age and income based. So, but they do have to go
Excellent
to TVCCA to register for that program. All right.
That was the complete list, right there, up to the park maintenance.
I only mentioned the new items.
Yeah.
That way I don't take up too much time. All right.
I have one final question.
Sure.
You pay for the driver that delivers the Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
How does that fall under recreation? Why is that your responsibility?
Falls under senior center.
Senior center. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you for all your time.
Yes. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Highway Department.
My name is Ron Berrigan. I am the current crew chief of the Highway Department and in the position for 2 months now. On top, you see all the pay raises, that's all contractual with the town and the union. Those raises come from there. Contractual services, which is the uniform companies, the alarm companies, the pest control companies, and more for that reason. Of course, the garbage. Everybody's garbage is going up. The utilities is going up. Since all gravel is going up. And that's all rides on the prices of fuel right now. The vehicle expenses, and again, that's just because the prices of parts for vehicles have all risen. There's not much we can do about that at this point. So, down here.
Mechanic, police department.
Yeah, I don't know why that's there. Although the police mechanic and our mechanic fall with the same contract, same unions, belong to the same union.
False enough.
Yeah, yeah.
So he actually works in your building?
Paul?
Yeah.
No, the police department, works at the police
His
station.
so-called office is the police department?
Yep, he's got a garage back there.
He doesn't work on any vehicles?
Paul?
Yeah.
If my mechanic is out and I need something, he'll help me. I just did that for him last week. Their mechanic was out, and they had cruisers down, and my mechanic worked on them for him. But they needed the
Police
cars.
department head? It seems to me, I asked that question at when the police were here, they said that they were headquartered up your place, and he does do a lot of work for you guys. Never mind, I don't want to get into that. Thank you for your answer.
So the 14% increase in salary is all contractual?
Yes.
I just asked whether it was 3, 2, 5.
Yes. Yeah.
When do you usually start stockpiling salt and stuff?
Let's start in November.
November?
Are you fully staffed now? I heard you were down a few guys.
It's 10 including me.
Your answer to me, is that fully
That's what
staffed?
we've been in the past. We've had as many as 13 up there years ago. I've been there 26 years. We've had as much as 13 people up there. We're down to 10. But that's myself
You think
and
you have enough
mechanic.
with the 10?
Excuse me?
You think you have enough with the 10?
You could always use more, right?
How much paving are we planning to do this year?
Sure. I'm gonna go next week and look up the roads and see how many miles of road we can get done. I'm putting a list together. I'm meeting with a paving contractor next week and we're gonna go look at it. So I don't have quite a figure as of yet of how much we can get done and the budget that we have to do it.
This probably doesn't come under your purview, but because it's a state road, on 14 running into the center of town, over that first set of railroad tracks. Have you been in contact with the state to get that fixed?
No, I have not.
Okay. Is that something that you can do, or is that something that needs to come from the town hall? Or?
First of all, you have, whether it's be the state has to do that, so maybe the town hall needs to get a hold of the state.
Okay.
Then the state people, when they do anything by the railroad tracks, they have to get a hold of the railroad. Because there's so many feet of the railroad tracks, you can't touch it without their permission.
So we're talking 2024 then, right?
Or longer.
Yeah.
You know when that was done last, right?
What's that?
You know when that was done last?
Yeah.
2008.
Oh, great. What is the condition of your vehicles? Do you have any that are in need of being replaced, or do you have any that are questionable for service?
Questionable for service, but we're running trucks 18, 19, 20 years old. We have a few of them.
Okay.
We have a few of them. But I mean, if they're questionable for service, I don't put them in
Right.
service.
But if you have one that's questionable for service, are you still able to accomplish the things that you need to?
Yes.
Your paving is done by budget, not by need.
Whatever the amount of monies that we are appropriated,
Through town aid road, we get about 200, I want to say 44,000 a year. So a portion of that we'll use for paving. Municipal revenue sharing, we'll use that for paving. And then we budget road construction so much every year for paving. So we add those together, and that's how we create the paving budget. So this year's about 500,000.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this, if you go out and physically examine the roads, and you say, I need to do 15 miles, and you come back and you look at your budget, and your budget allows for 10 miles, you go 5 miles without doing it?
I'll make that decision.
I mean, if it's not in the budget.
Well, let's put it in the budget. The roads are bad enough to what,
How many miles would you like to?
Cost me a front end on
How
it.
many miles would you like?
I would like them up to date.
What we do every year is the same process. We go out and we evaluate those roads to see which ones are the most need. And then from there, we look at the numbers we have available for money, and we do the ones that are the most need. We do that every year. I wish I had all the money that we do all the roads, but we don't have that.
You only have the gas one.
Well, I mean, I value my taxes
I'm not
too.
going to give it to you if you don't ask me.
I also value my mill rate too, so could we allow it? Absolutely, but then everyone here, everyone in the town can be paying for it. You know what I'm saying? So if you do the ones that are the most in need, I'm okay with that as long as it keeps my mill rate the same.
Yeah, but I question what is in need. If it's 90% bad and we can't do it.
Well, no, I believe it. From what I'm telling you, I believe that if you find 90% are bad, then that would be, hey, we need to get this done, and then it comes to the budget, and then we get it done. So that's what I would leave it up to them to decide which are the ones that need to get done, not me who sits here.
Yeah, but you're not deciding.
He's not, who's the one that decides?
The budget. You.
Well, no, he just said that you look at it and find out what needs to
But
get
the
done, right?
budget decides. He's going to come back with 15 miles need to be done. He's going to do 10 because the budget decides. We got some bad roads in town that won't get done because the budget won't allow it.
Last year, I believe it was, don't quote me, like I said, I've only been in this position for 2 months. I think it was like maybe 2.5, 3 miles of road we ended up doing. and that was around 400,000, I think it was. So you don't, at the price of oil, asphalt, it's not gonna go far. So I agree with Ted, I'd love to do the whole road, whole town. It's not feasible for us to do the whole town, it's just not. So we're trying to do the best we can with the money that we have, keep the roads together as well as we could.
But from that total that Kelly was talking about, all the money that we do have to work with, that also pertains to all the patchworks. I know we do a lot of patchwork,
No.
and unfortunately, the patches do not last long, so that's separate.
No, that's separate.
I think I like that concept. What the Board of Finance should do is say, here's the amount of money you've got, Mr. Selectman. Show me where you're gonna spend it. I like this concept. He does it by budget. Why don't I tell you what your budget is instead of you telling me?
This is what we're proposing to you. You have a decision to make.
It's not you, it's us. The Board of Finance's responsibility. Something we should consider, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, Board of Selectmen.
So you have in front of you what we have proposed from the Board of Selectmen. They're working on this page. Before I get into that, though, I do want to say a few things. I want to say thank you to all of our staff, because what you have in front of you is a lot of work. They went through to make sure that their budget was appropriate and bring it forth in front of you. And I want to thank the staff also for their patience through all of the issues we've had recently. It's not easy. So I want to thank them for that, as well as the residents, because they have to deal with all of these consequences. We do have a few things I wanted to kind of address, if you wouldn't mind. Our grant writer. Roughly how much have you taken in so far? Is it between 500 and 600,000?
In that range. I lost my chart with all this.
You lost this chart, yeah?
Yeah.
That's a lot. So not only the grant writer, but all the other departments have been really working hard, and they go to him and beat on his door all the time for money. So he's doing a great job to help offset some of the things we would have asked for anyway. One thing I wanted to talk about quickly was the rec department. I know we mentioned it, but I want to make some clarification. You hired a person to do maintenance. He does 50-50, and 50% of the time they're inside, 50% of the time they're actually going to do all the parks. So that's another supportive measure that we're looking to do from the Recreation Department. Tom, you mentioned something about the Plainfield Little League. We'll have a definition of exactly what it is that we'll be responsible for in the future. We're trying to do a game of catch-up. And I want to thank the rec director, because some of those monies that we're using are coming from his funding. So it is very helpful at this time. We'll get to the point where we're going to do things. We want to do them again in the future. So hopefully they can catch up and be able to utilize their income from fundraisers or from donations, and be able to, I think that this year alone, the number of people that have come forward to help out is fantastic. The other part of that is that I think there's 263 kids that came forward this year. And that's, 75 or 80 more than last time. So this is fantastic. They're starting to actually come back.
What do you attribute that to?
I think there were some articles in the paper. There were people saying, what can we do to help? Because there were actually some businesses in our area that came forward and made donations right away. Via Maria, American Legion 91, they're actually coming out and asking, what can we do to help out? So I think that's going to get them a better standing, so in the future years they can do the maintenance themselves. We do the maintenance of the field, and I'm not going to say that, Ted, you've been around for a long, long time, but do you remember in the Moosa field, there was actually 2 of those concession stands. First one was Lions putting it together, that's why it's called Lions Drive. And the second one after that was Ellis Tech helping, I think, Kyle put that together. So those are the things that the Little League should be maintaining, like if they want the fences and maintaining them. We're just helping them out for now just to get past this step. After that, we will establish something which will know who's responsible for what party. So,
I also think a lot of it comes from concessions.
yes,
And COVID closed that down.
absolutely. And speaking about that, the question came forward about electricity, and why would you go, I think it was 1 year for, I think, buildings and grounds. If you take a look at that line item, you talk about the initial year was 61,000. And we didn't have a lot of activities going on for the pool. That's why the numbers went down. Now that they're back up and running full steam again, that's why it's back up to the 61.
The reason, what do you call it, the test-and-tenor part, if you will?
Yep.
Because Ron put that together. He got that from volunteer.
I mean, this sounds great.
No, that was an Eagle Scout project, my son did it.
What's that?
That was an Eagle Scout project, and my son did it.
I'm talking about this year, maintaining.
Oh, maintaining it, that's a different story. I thought you meant building it.
No, I can't read all the writing on the bottom, I'll be honest, in the back. But Ron spearheaded that with the Rotary. They came forward.
Matter of fact, the Rotary was in today. We're going to talk about cleaning up the back of that. You were talking about it's still dirty in the back.
Yeah.
We'll talk about putting that help now. We are also working on as many programs as possible for the recreation and senior center. I can't say enough about the new programs that have been coming forward from our rec department, and that's fantastic. It gives more opportunities for everybody, so I really want to thank them for that. So quickly on my budget, selectmen, you'll notice that there's 3% in for the first selectman and the other selectman, and then there is a salary increase of $1,500, again 3%. We did a reduction for legal notices. I think part of that is we don't have any more iPark lots to sell, so we should be slowing down a little bit on that. And then there is an increase in supplies and expenses. I can explain that quickly. If anybody's been in my office, they see that those chairs have been there forever, and I'd like to change those out. It would be more professional. We have people coming in, businesses coming in to have something that's a little more up to date. Those are very dated. So that's the intent of what I was looking for in my budget.
Can I ask you, I know where I'm going with it, but how many hours are you involved in city work?
I mean, here in the office doing work, or what?
Well, in the office, out and about, I mean, just in general, on a weekly basis.
24 times 7.
You've driven by, you've seen my vehicle out there?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just asking, I want to hear it from you.
I don't think my hourly rate would be much. I very much love my job, love doing things. If you notice what we've been doing over the last couple of years, it's nonstop. And I can attribute that to the fact that, hey, if someone come up to me and says, would say something like, let's do this project. I'm not going to say no, I'll look into it and see if we can do it. So on our selectmen meeting, we have about a list of about that long of things that we're doing. And we're going to continue doing that. We have things to catch up on, things to do, so I'm here a lot. But I can tell you right off the bat, it means nothing unless I have this staff here helping me out. So if I ask for something, you've approached me multiple times for different projects, let's go and put it forward. The worst the state can say is no. The best we can do is get something out of it, so there's more things to do for the town. One of them, like the open space project on Cape County Road, fantastic. But you need help to do that. So we start the ball rolling. I'm here a lot to do that, but it's really a lot of other people that do the work.
So, and again, I mean, I'm just bringing this up, right? And I completely understand that, right? Because you're only as good as your team that you have set up. But, and you would never say this, but you have people that are making more than our own selectmen are. Or as much as our selectmen. And let's not even talk about the school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how or why?
You want the history of it, or you want the...
No, I mean, I really want to know what you think. As you look through it, it's very lopsided.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering why. I understand money, I understand budget, I understand that, but I'm saying...
So there's a little bit of history to help you out here. Over the years, some years, the selectmen have taken 0 increase. So that is a compounding effect over the years. You'll notice that we had a little issue last year where we didn't have those numbers in there. That's why I gave the people who were not in contract 3%. Could have gone more, but I thought 3% would be fair. And it catches them up. Nope. It gets you, you're still compounding behind the people. What I want to do is 2 things in the future. We are growing as a town. We have more services available. I want to add more staff. You asked the question about the highway. I think we can use staff in almost every single department we have here, including highway. This one right here needs as much as, if to compare it to anybody in another town, she's also underpaid tremendously. I would like to have it in this year's budget to give her more. We spoke about it already, about next year's budget, making sure that we help her catch up. It won't be a compounding effect like we had been over the years, but we need to do something about that.
What are we gonna do with the higher assessment on the cars?
Well, I think you kind
I'll
of
look
looked
through
through
it.
the numbers at page number 2 of the, of your budget packet. So you see the grand list is listed there. You see the numbers that you're looking at. I know we have an item for discussion, but really, might as well get right to it. I would ask that the Board of Finance consider giving information to the town of Plainfield, on the town side of it, and the Board of Education side of it, a number that you're looking to get to and what you're looking to cut, so that we can prepare for that. I know $0.25 million, 2.24 is not much, but I know your intention, I know what you're thinking. But I'd like to know what your numbers are so we can start working on those right away. This is a great opportunity for the town to continue in a pattern as there are no increase. But we also have to think of the other side of this. What are the things that we'd like to bring to the town? What are the things we'd like to do? More staffing in the future, absolutely. We're going to have a better position, I think, next year, only because we have larger companies that are coming into Plainfield, which will eventually grow our town. We're going to need more housing. We're going to need more staffing. We're going to need a lot of things. So I would ask that you consider giving us numbers tonight. I do appreciate the question, and I know where you're going with that, but it is what it is.
For tonight's meeting is to get to understand all the departments and how they all come together and contribute to what the town provides for its citizenship. And having conversations with people in the public, I know that taxes increases is a concern for everybody. It was highlighted last week from the Board of Ed presentation that we have a poverty level of 57% in our student body. So we have to be mindful of that. How does that reflect upon what individuals are willing to absorb? As we know that a lot of things are going up in cost, like fuel prices, food prices, and some of these are unpredictable. Knowing that a lot of our citizenship is going to be hit with a higher tax bill on their motor vehicles because people are retaining their vehicles longer, there's a limited supply. We're already looking at that potential for an increase on that side of it. So my hope is that we can come to a place where we can either keep the mill rate flat or possibly even have a reduction. But it's going to take work on everybody's part, finding where we can, looking at areas where we can fine tune what we're spending and finding maybe things that, oh wait, why do we have this here? Do we really need this? Is this something that we can absorb through a grant? Or is this something that maybe doesn't create a real sense of urgency for this year? Maybe next year when we're in a little bit stronger cash position with tax revenues, maybe there's something that we can postpone perhaps. But at the same time, we have urgency on certain areas within our town. Roads has been brought up already. So I think there's a lot of variables to be looked at. I would like to say extend to everybody that's been here and presented their departments. I think that we all appreciate the information and the time that you've made to prepare for this. But it's going to be a work in progress on all our parts. I think that there's certain things that we can look at closely and say, hey, okay, what can we do to offset this? I've heard the word donations. I've heard the word grants. And how maybe we do find a way to cost share on some of our expenses. Instead of this department buying this item by themselves, maybe two departments pool their resources, because when you buy a certain particular item, for lack of a better example, paper. If you buy your paper in bulk, you get a better price, but if one department's buying by themselves and another department's buying by themselves, we're not getting the best price. I think the other thing to consider is, where do we have opportunities to put something out to bid? And walking through the bid process, I think one of the things that we really want to be aware of is that we have an in-house solution. We have a local business organization that can provide that service, and we definitely want to stay in-house. I think there's some opportunities. I know I'm speaking primarily for myself. I would like to see a flat mill rate or a reduction. I don't know what those exact numbers are right now, because what I saw 2 weeks ago is a little different than what I'm seeing. So there's certain things that have part of our discussion.
I would just ask one thing. I do agree with you on the points you've made.
Yeah.
I would just ask one thing, is to give the town side of it discretion as well. If there's cuts to be made, where we can make the cuts, I'll be very appropriate and try to bring back multiple items for you if that's the desire. On that note,
I don't know that I can give you a number right now. I think that that's going to be a topic of discussion for the whole board as a whole.
okay.
But if I was going to look at it, I would say that based on where the budget numbers lie, 75% of what we're accounted for comes from one department. So if we're looking at cuts, then 75% should come from that one area, that being the Board of Education. Now, they occupy the biggest chunk of our town budget, so if we need to cut a flat number, let's say it's 400,000, 75% of that should come from the Board of Education side. I think that's an equitable solution. Whether that's the actual number or not, I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
And the only reason I really asked the question, we can call a special selectment meeting to come up and figure out where we can make cuts from. The Board of Education has to do the same thing between now and your follow-up for when you actually give numbers. So it's really tight numbers for them.
Sure.
I've already looked at where I might be able to make some cuts, so I think I'm in a healthier position.
I agree.
As it stands right now, what would the mill rate be?
According to right now, without any cuts,
0.24.
it would be, right now we're 28.33 this year. We'd go to 28.57, so it's a 0.24 increase. It's on that second page of your packet.
I got so many packets.
I know.
But yeah, on that note, I would also want the Board of Education to be present. Obviously, when having that discussion, both the Board of Selectmen and that, but to Dean's point, the fact that they have, of course, the biggest chunk of the budget, and so if we're going to make cuts, depending on what ratio that would be, what would come from the town, what would come from the Board of Ed, they certainly need to be involved in that discussion, because we want to hear what their thoughts are, and possibly what they would look at cutting.
Definitely.
Any other questions you have?
You know where I'm going.
Close one of the schools.
You got my number.
That's the only reason why I asked.
I get it, I wouldn't be close.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I asked.
Hey, you close one of the schools, you'll spend all the money you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, having received that budget on the 31st, and running some calculations, and again, there's been some changes, some tweaks, but my feeling is that if we could cut $380,000 combined on the budget, then we could get the mill rate to 28.2. Now, I don't know how accurate my numbers are based on the changes that we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks, but I think we have the potential to do it better.
Any other questions that you have?
We would base our cuts on mill rate rather than needs. So we could cut some very needed projects because we don't want to increase the mill rate. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I think we have to be aware of what our citizens want, and what our citizens can absorb.
Our citizens have elected us
That's right.
to make their determination.
And we'll have that conversation.
You're right.
Selectmen and Board of Ed.
That's right.
You raised the unemployment, right?
A little. Yeah, like 60.
Yeah, so I did a line item transfer out of unemployment, so the amended part is less than what was actually budgeted last year.
Okay.
So that's why I moved money out of there. So that's why we increased it a little bit.
And there was a little bit raise in medical insurance, was it?
Yeah,
Like $3,000 or something?
50,000. I think it was 50,000. The cost of
Oh,
hire.
yeah.
Yeah, so like.
Oh,
just-
it's 3,000 from the original proposal that you gave, that's what it was. Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, we do try to monitor and do things, so it's appropriate. If you notice in the town clerk, you'll still talk about general index.
Yeah.
We are going to be going to have to come back for another line item transfer to cover some of those for this year. That's why the increase is that much for next year. For general
Does it
index.
have to be that much?
There's a lot more movement with houses,
I mean-
lots of sales.
I mean, I'm still leaving some in there, you know, but
You're so
that's
generous.
just an idea.
But that's why we did that to that percentage, because we calculated out how much it was increased over the year.
Maybe if we give our writer a couple more guys, we can get some more money. You're doing a great job.
Those two gentlemen back there have been doing so much for us, and I know I ask all the time for Jordan to do extra things, and he's more than happy to do that, so, as well as any other department, if you ask them to do something, they will, so I appreciate all of them.
How close are the numbers here to where we really are? I mean, is everything kind of much in line now? 'Cause I noticed, like, for instance, on the school, you only have a 1% increase on here, but they wanted 1.3.
Is their number holding at this point?
I don't know if I updated it. Oh,
No, the ECS is not updated on this one.
yeah, that's a discussion we're having. I did research on the ECS, I call it Killenly, the town of Killenly and Putnam. So when you become an alliance district, a portion of your ECS funds goes directly to the school. And that's one of the benefits of being an alliance district. The town doesn't budget as revenue, it goes directly to the school. So we're having a discussion right now with the school department to find out what that dollar amount is, because I don't know what it is.
We don't know if
I
they're
mean,
going
out
to
of
be
the
14.
15 million,
Yes.
Yeah.
a certain amount of that goes to them.
Yeah, that's how Putnam has it and Killenly, and they're both alliance districts. And they warned me, Killenly did, for your first year, either your mill rate's gonna go up to offset it, or you're gonna use your fund balance, because you won't be able to receive that money, it's gonna go directly to the school.
So it's important to get the answer as soon as possible before we go out to final budget. Okay? Thank you.
All right, this time, I'll return you back to Mike. We talk about the town general budget. You want to address a few things for us. I know that I have a couple of questions.
Talking about general town?
Yes.
So the first item you see is change the engineering firm is now an engineer into another department. Legal fees is a decrease of $20,000. I can explain that very easily. We've been doing nothing but contract negotiations and contract negotiations, and we're our final one right now. We anticipate that we'll be out of that contract negotiation before July 1. At least I believe that. That means that we're not going to be utilizing the legal resources as much as previous year. That's why a reduction of 20,000 there. Computer line item is a little misleading, I will say that, because while there's an increase in the purchase of items, and you have that in your booklet as well, I think you should also look at the last page, which talks about the fund balance. The fund balance has a bottom line matter of IT upgrade cybersecurity for $100,000. So that should be tied into that. We'll be looking at it on an annual basis. This year, for the purchases of everything we've done, hardware, software, and support, when we come to you for the final number, once we gather that all together, Again, it's hardware, it's software together, so those things will be coming out of this year, and 100,000 to be anticipated in the future. I can give you one example. Is Sasha still here?
Yes, I know.
She's already come to me, and she's already said, I want to go to the cloud, and I want to make sure we do the contract, so it's a certain number, we take out of 100,000. And I think all the other departments will want to do the same thing. Makes it less safer for us. So, right now, that's what I had in there for 100,000. If you continue down to general town, you know, county road is what you get, so there's no, I mean, it says a minus 171, but that's what you get from the state. You go a little further down, and contingencies, that's an increase for contingencies based on the things that happen on a regular basis. Do you understood how many phone calls we get having, want to go out and fix things on a regular basis, or whether it's town-owned properties, or whether it's, you know, roadway issues, or whatever it might be, kind of falls into that category. The other increase is a contracted issue for fireworks. They went up this year from 10,000 to 11,500. And down below, I have a few things in there that are questions. I'm sure I can answer them right now. You see flatbed is on there. I wanted to purchase a used flatbed, pull behind like they have for the hay wagons, and utilize that for a couple things. One, we have these concerts that we have out here, and I wanted to use that for as a bandstand, so you're elevated up, the band is elevated up, and you can actually see that if you're sitting in the grass. The same flatbed could be used on the J Parade over at the park. So that's a small investment, $2,000. The next one is new pool boiler. Whether it's here, whether it's in the last page, it doesn't matter at this point. When we disconnect our boiler downstairs to start working on our HVAC in the offices, that's got to come out. You have to use that, a new one, to heat your water in the pool, your shower water, and also heat in the shower areas. And we anticipated about 40,000. We're looking to go out to bid soon. We haven't been able to do a lot of that because we're catching up with getting our computer back up and running. But we will be able to do that. The outdoor restrooms, again, sanitary issues. We rent portalettes all the time, and I'm looking to do a couple of the restrooms out here too, tied into sewer, and one over at Moose Pond, which has a perfect place for it because there's a grinder right there on the pond where you go to that beach. That's why that number's there. I've got a sound system. You're working on a sound system which is a little older. What I'm looking to do is an upgrade of the camera systems and lapel microphones for everybody at the table. There's a reason why for that request. The state of Connecticut is coming out with, they tried doing it last year, it was pushed off. They'd like to be able to do streaming. They'd like to be able to have things done so that you can have the streaming done live. We'd have to have someone hired to monitor that on a regular basis until we get, until we get someone who's trained to do that. But that's their intent, is it'll be a state statute and you can't get around it. So that's why I was looking to do that with cameras and also microphone systems. So those were the reasons why those were there. I think there's one more I wanted to point out to you. On the last page, I think we already wrote some of these items. That's the fund balance. You'll see that there is still the Trinidad Valley Trail grant. There's the police evidence building. There is town hall garage. I'll get to that in a second. Lions Park solar lights. Road construction, as was mentioned before, the $300,000. Playground improvements. We wanted to continue on with some of the pool and locker upgrades as well. And then the projects that we mentioned before with the sidewalks and Catwood Bridge. I'll get back to the other issue, which was town hall garage, if anybody knows. We have maintenance staff which gets to drive back and forth when they need the equipment over to the sewer department, because that's where we store things. So when he wants to work on something, he has to drive over there, work on it. Or if he has to get an item, drive over there, get on a flatbed, bring it here. That's when we have a flatbed. That's when we have a flatbed, we just don't have a truck right now. So I want to go back to that for 1 second. Both the highway and also our maintenance staff, in this current year's budget, we have multiple trucks. We have 5 altogether. There's a dumper, there's 2 trucks for the highway department, as far as pickup trucks, and 2 pickup trucks for maintenance. We don't have them yet, we're still waiting for them like everybody else. So we
I
hope
talked to
we,
him today.
you
I
did?
talked to the guy today, yeah, and we're still on hold.
There's your update.
I'm glad you raised your hand for that. They're not coming in anytime soon, that's all I'm saying.
Believe me, we're trying to get these guys to keep on hearing our voice every day. That would be fantastic, because eventually they'll get tired and search everywhere to try to get some trucks. But we are down trucks. Fortunately, when they come in, we'll be, all upgrade with new stuff. In the meantime, you have to hold on and pray that what we have continues to work. Sometimes we beg borrow still from each other departments, so. Well, that's why I wanted to put in, over here, there's a part of the parking lot in the back corner, which we own. We'd like to be able to put up a 2-car garage over here. So that you do all his maintenance and work right here. Doesn't have to drive anywhere to get his equipment, and can mow and do all his stuff right from here to start with. And then go out and do the other sites he has to do. But it would save about 15 or 20 minutes to drive to a spot, hook up everything, get it loaded up, and bring it back. So that's the intent there. So I hope I answered all the questions for what's also on the back. Except for one maybe. I would like to put up at the Lions Park some solar lights around the track. So those solar lights are a safety issue. You can put them up. You don't have to worry about having to dig down and trench it for lights, for wiring. And that's very inexpensive for 8 lights. I thought that would be a decent thing to do for safety as well. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the first selectman on I do have one on the police evidence building. Are we putting that out to bid at all?
Who will be?
Are there any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we accept the presentation as it's been put forward for the evening.
Make a motion.
All right, we have a motion on the table to accept the presentations that have been put forth for the evening. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? If not, then at this time, I will turn it over, open the floor up for any citizens' participation. If anybody would like to add anything or ask a question, if you would, just approach the mic and introduce yourself, please.
Sean Peterson, another way. My questions are, the bus garage, do we rent that space to them, or how does that work?
Yeah, we do. So it's a contract that the school department, is it the school department that signs that, correct?
No,
Sorry.
it's leased with the town.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
It was the
leased,
school
but the
department
school
gave us
signed
the
it.
funding for it first, but now we have it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, are they paying any additional utility costs? Do they have like separate electric meters there? Or do we pay all the electric?
We pay all the electrical.
They-
We pay all the electrical.
they should be.
Just get a lease. We
Who's-
just get a small amount.
All right.
Who negotiated the lease, like who?
Well, no, I'm just curious as to, the highway department's got a budget increase because of utilities.
Yes,
They're not seeing the increase on the bus side.
yes.
That's one question. I heard rumor, I don't know if it's in this budget or not, the highway department wanted to lifts, the trucks, big lifts. Did that make it?
No, it was not discussed,
Okay,
so I never heard about it.
okay. I was just curious, because when I was on the advisory committee, it was something they wanted to do, was put lifts in. But they use those like the buses also, from what I understand. So why wouldn't they be paying for something? And then the recreation department, I was curious if we're charging the Little League rent for the buildings. How's that work?
So this year, we're not charging for use of fields or for buildings, but beginning next year, we will be, there will be a field use fee.
Who's paying electric bills? Who's paying heating bills?
Town.
Has there been a reduction on Little League fees?
Well, I don't know whether
Because if the town's picking up all the expenses of the Little League, why hasn't it dropped the parents?
you'd have to ask the Little League president on that one.
Okay. Just a bunch of odd things that are strange. Seems like we're hiding money from people,
Well, so
cleaning up their accounts.
what I can answer for that one is, from what I understand, compared to the other little leagues in our area, they've never increased it. It's still stayed the same price. So whereas others are a lot more, and we have like the whole rate where, you know, if you have 4 kids or however many it is, it's a flat fee. It's lower than every other town. And they looked at Jewett City, Killingly, Brooklyn. So that's where that is. I know with the last several years of COVID, concessions not coming in, I know that's taken
So you're on the Little League board or something?
So you
That's a conflict.
You also have to remember, as Kevin pointed out, they had an increase of like 75 participants this year. That's because their attendance had continually dropping, even though...
So they got more money.
Well, this year, yes, but in previous years, maintenance expenses continued to increase, just like inflation, but their revenue is decreasing. So cost of jerseys increases, umpires increases, cost of food, garbage, utilities, all that stuff. So for years and years and years, they had a decrease in attendance, but their expenses continue to go up.
We've
So
taken all their expenses away except for balls, bats.
beginning this year, yes, yes,
Next year is different.
yes, and
To a program, correct?
the
Daycare building?
But yes,
Are they paying increasing utilities?
we already have the discussion going on right now, and actually it'll be 2 weeks from now, I think.
right.
And we're going to sit down and talk about the increase of the utility costs.
Because I'm sure utility costs went there because of the activity.
I will say this, we're doubling the fee.
That's good, because I heard we were losing money on that right off the bat.
I'd like to know where you get that information that we're losing money.
I heard it was the original agreement wrong, should have higher.
Oh, I agree too.
All right, that's really my main question, because that seems like one of the biggest ends up. Thank you.
I have a question for you then.
Sure.
You mentioned something about hiding money. What do you mean by that?
Well, you took, in the rec budget, you eliminated the line item for part-time salaries, and then you broke it down into other categories to try to make it more transparent. If you added those part-time salaries, it's actually more than what they were. So you had a major increase in part-time salaries, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because of more programming.
Correct. But now it doesn't show an increase in part-time salaries because you can't see them all totaled up.
It's tough to go backwards and reconfigure everything, but I think from this point on, you should be able to see everything.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just really quickly again, Mary Ann Chinati, Economic Development and Planning and Zoning. I know that you had asked the rec director for a list of grants that the recreation department had gotten. I've been here just shy of 4 years, and so far I've gotten in the vicinity of $4 million worth of grants for the town. And today I just submitted a $2,175,000 grant application for the Quinnebog River Trail for one of the phases of that. So I'd be happy to provide you a list if you'd like.
Yes, that would be great. Any other questions? Any other contributions? If not, I'll entertain a motion and we adjourn.
So moved.
Second.